Great. This is a walkthrough of the releases 8.5 and 8.6 and the features that we have in there. Most of this is a PowerPoint presentation, but we're also going to see a demonstration of some of it. And this is the beginning of a new webinar series for this spring with all the sessions from Tech Conference. So you might have seen this one before. First of all, 8.5 release back from August. These are the release headlines. We had a focus on especially scalability. That's some clustering and some of the load balancing features in Dynamicweb. And then we've added a lot of new features for e-commerce especially, and on the email marketing we have a number of new features in that one. So let's have a look at what these features are. In email marketing, we've added a couple of new concepts. One of the concepts is we now have a user context, meaning that we can add modules that would put content on an email that is related to that user that we're sending out the email to. And we can use this to create, for example, vouchers or show an order context. If a user have placed an order before, we can render an order, the previous orders on the email, and we can do stuff like that is related to the user itself. And also we've added a lot of new rules to the smart searches, so now you can do some more specific things on smart searches, see if users responded on links or bought some things or did some specific actions on the website. Also, we added email personalization, which is using some of these features. So now you can use smart searches to drive or to find users with a specific purchase history, and then you can target some content against these users and personalize based on their behavior. So basically, we'll just go and have a look at how this works in the administration. So we'll switch to a Dynamicweb solution. As we can see here, I have a regular solution with a front end like any other, and on this website I've created a newsletter which is basically consisting of a number of information. First of all, I have some regular welcome text. Then I have two product catalogs published here, one with mountain bikes and one with road bikes. These are just publishing regular products. And then I have here a voucher module, which is one of these new context modules that are available that looks at the user that we send out an email to and give them a voucher related to that user. And we have some regular text. So, and I wanted to send this out to all my previous customers and give them a voucher so they can get a discount. But also one of the things that I want to do is I don't want to show mountain bikes to users that are not interested in mountain bikes. And I don't want to show road bikes to people that doesn't have that interest. And for that purpose, I'm going to switch to the user management. And this is where I have all my customers, and that's happens to be me. And what I'm going to do is take make a search on these users' purchase history. So if we take a look at one of these users, I can see all the previous orders in here, and I have an old order here, including some specific products. Let's have a look at the order itself. So I bought this one. This is a mountain bike, and I want to use this information to select some users from my user database to send out things and to personalize against. So what I did here is I created a smart search for all users that has a purchase history of buying a mountain bike. And this is very simple. Search all users who bought a product from the group mountain bikes and is also a customer. And I do the same with the road bike in here. Say I want to find all users that bought a road bike at some point and is in the customers. So that will give me two lists and the two different users. Now I can use these information or these searches to personalize the content on my newsletter. So I'm sending out this newsletter to all the users in Dynamicweb, or in my customer base. Let's have a look at the email in backend. I have the campaign here. saying I'm sending it out to all the customers. I have 2 users in that one, and they all receive the same newsletter. Now I want to personalize against it, the users, and the way I do that is on this page where I have the paragraph. On the marketing tab, I have something called email personalization. On this one, I can set up the segmentation on which users should see what. And what I do is I add segments, and a segment is basically a smart search, the one I defined up here. So I can add a new segment or smart search up here to personalize against. I'm going to remove this one. So now I say these paragraphs will be shown to, this one will be shown to all users, and the same with the other 2. The rest of the paragraphs will be shown not by default, but if I bought a mountain bike, I'll see the mountain bike paragraph. If I bought a road bike, I'll see the road bike section. And if I bought any of either one, I'm going to get a voucher. So if I'm a user in the customer group with a purchase history of buying a mountain bike or road bike, I'll get one of these paragraphs and a voucher. Otherwise, I'll not get any of these paragraphs. If I bought both a mountain bike and a road bike, I'll see all of it at the same time. So, and we can have a look at how this looks in the browser. So this is how the email newsletter will look like if I didn't buy anything. Now I can say if I bought a mountain bike, this is how the email will look. We'll just have to wait it for updating. Yeah, there it goes. Then I get the mountain bikes and I get the discounts. If I, on the other hand, bought a road bike but not a mountain bike, I'll see the road bikes. And if I bought both, I'll see both paragraphs and still only just one discount code down here. So all these combinations will be put together by email marketing when sending out the emails. So that's the current concept of personalization, and this is the voucher code. We forgot to take a look at that one, but basically we can see that the voucher code that will run down here, it is unique to the users. So this one is not static in any way. It's being pulled out of the system and attached to the user that we're sending out this one. So this one is unique and can only be used once, if that's how I set it up. And let's have a look at some of the other things happening on e-commerce. First of all, we have added a new concept called assortments. And assortment is a selection of products that is only displayed to some, when a user logs in, he is limited in what products he can see. So basically what I do is I create an assortment and I add what products and what groups should be part of this assortment. And then I specify which users should be member of this assortment. So if any of the users that I've specified here logs in, he's limited to see only the products that is part of this assortment. And a user can be a member of any assortments that he wants. And in this way we can control what products the users can see when they're logging in. Another feature on top of the cart is the quote system, which is basically a possibility of checking out a cart without ordering. So what I do is I place a request for a price, and that is handled like we have regular order management, we have a quote management, looks like the same, and as a shop owner I receive a quote request and I can edit the order and change prices or add things to it. That could be if they need a specific configuration and need help, or if they need a price because it cannot be calculated or they need a discount. I can change it in here, and when I'm done I can send it back to the customer, which can from the customer center then reorder or order the edited quote without changing anything on the order. Also we released recommendation. Recommendation is related products, which is usually something that we use hard-coded in Dynamicweb. With a recommendation engine, we can do recommendations or related products based on behavior of other visitors. So what happens is that if I'm looking at a specific product, so based on all the previous visit history and order history, this recommendation engine will find the products that I'm most likely to also buy or have an interest in. And this is based on statistical analysis in this recommendation engine. and it requires a service to be installed that handles all of this. This kind of functionality is only gives a point if you have a solution with a lot of visitors, more than 10,000 at least a month, because it requires a bit of data before it's giving relevant information back. So these are for more solutions that are visited a lot. And basically what it does, it gets a lot of data from Dynamicweb, all the visit history and order history, and analyzes it. And then we ask the recommendation engine, when we see a specific product, what recommendations do you have for me? And this is returned in JSON, and we can render it in any way that we like. So this is an example of some products I have on my left side, and on the right side I get the recommendation based on the previous visitor history by other users. Other things happening in Dynamicweb 8.5, in email marketing, I'm now able to mark all the leads I want from the list, and I can send them all as one mail. So instead of having one mail for each lead, I can now send them out in a list of leads where I can see all the information on the leads in the lists. On the personalization, we've added the possibility of targeting content for not profile users, because sometimes we have some users that is a specific profile and we want to show them something, but if they are not that profile, we want to show them something else. That was a bit tricky before. Now we can use it using this not profile users concept. In e-commerce, we changed the way we work with variant. Before we had a very complicated matrix, especially if you had a lot of different option combinations. What we have now is much simpler and a more slick user interface to add combinations fast and easy to sort and so on. Also on discount, we added this new concept called discount matrix, which is a new discount module which lies beside the other one. So instead of having all these generic discounts that we usually have, we now have a discount matrix which makes it possible to combine all kinds of things that should trigger a discount. I'm going to show it just in 1 minute, so I'm not going to go into details in that now. So let's switch to the administration instead and have a look at how that works. First of all, let's have a look at the variant matrix. I'll need to go in and find a piece of garment that has variants. Wrong one, this one. And on the variants tab, it looks like this now. So I can see the groups that I have added to this one. So when I need to add a new combination in here, I can select a combination. I'm choosing one of the options from the color group, which is, let's say, blue, and I can add all the options from the sizes, meaning I'm going to add all the missing options down here. I can also add all the colors in one go and all the sizes in one go and add them in this way. Another new thing that has come up is large, medium, and small. I want to create an extra small. I can now do that directly from the user interface. Before I had to go into the administration and management center to do that, so that's a tiny change, but makes it way easier to work with variants. And I also have the possibility of sorting these lists based on the options which has been wanted from a lot of users. I just need to see, I think we have, sorry I haven't seen my question pane. And a question I don't understand. Let's have a look at the new discount matrix and how it looks. In Management Center under orders, we have sales discounts, which are the old ones or the regular ones. They still work. On top of that, I can add order discounts. It's the same discount concept below it, all the calculation methods. It's just instead of adding creating a specific discount implementation, this one is a more generic way of handling discounts. So what I can do here is I can create a discount that based on one or several options will give a discount. So now I can say in this period of time, if I'm this user and I buy more than 100 of the currency, and I'm buying a specific product from that group, and I'm having it delivered to Denmark, and I have a voucher of something coming from this campaign, I'm gonna get 10% discount. This is a very complicated discount, but what it shows is I can combine a lot of different scenarios in one discount and add it to the rule set before a discount is applied. And I can target discounts against specific users and groups. And on order totals, I have a lot of things about products. I can say it's for all the products in this shop, or in this language, or in these groups, or in these group, and not these products. And I'm going to also take a look at the delivery context of the order itself with payment and shipping methods, or delivery countries, so I have different discounts for these different areas. And also how many products should I have, and so on and so forth. Taking a look at some other things that we've added is statistics on users. So I can see I have a user here. So if I go into user management and find a user that is known to my system, I can now go and click on the visits button up here, and I get a list of all his previous visits, and I can click on the details and get all the information on this visitor. What pages did he see, what products did he see, and so on. Marketing module also got a small feature for sending out text messages to phones. So now I can say to all my users in a specific user group or something, I can send them out a text message, and this is done using an email to SMS gateway, and I can also make some very simple personalization using their names in the message. Items have received a number of updates. Now I'm able to use inheritance from, so I can create one item type, and I can have sub-item types based on that one and add different fields for it. So this is very powerful in terms of working with items. Also, we introduced a concept called named item lists that makes it possible to create big lists of items. Instead of adding them as pages or paragraph, I can now add them into these containers called a named item list. And these named item lists reside on a page itself, but it's not part of the page structure and so on. And they are optimized for having a lot of items stored. So if I need to store a lot of information in named item list is the way to go. And they can of course be published with the item publisher and so on. And also it's possible now to translate the item labels, so the administration can translate the item field definitions like the rest of the user interface in Dynamicweb. We also released a new integration to the product Perkian, which is a product information system that a lot of customers is using for handling all their product information. So, and it have things like inheritance and so on product data, and Dynamicweb now has a default integration that takes all this product data and put it into Dynamicweb. Same goes with the CRM integration. We've added a new one that makes it possible. This is a concept that needs to be modified to the customer's needs, but it can add all the actions that a user or a visitor do on my website and put it back into CRM as actions in that one and potential leads and so on. And then I can see all the activities inside CRM and use that when dealing with my customers. We've introduced a new integration to Active Directory, which makes it possible to use Active Directory authentication on a solution that is not member of a Active Directory, of the Active Directory that we host against. So now you can have the website in a hosting center and your Active Directory at home, and then you can connect it using this integration. It is consisting of two parts: a synchronization of all the users, and then an authentication web service that resides on the Active Directory. This new integration also makes it possible to integrate several Active Directories into one Dynamicweb solution. Taking a look at the platform, we now have an installer, so when you download an empty Dynamicweb, instead of also downloading files and a database, you can now simply run this installer and it will add default files and default database into the solution without you needing to do a lot of things. So it minimizes a lot of things for setting up the Dynamicweb solutions wrongly. We also released a new set of Razor templates based on Bootstrap. These can be found on our GitHub page at github.com/Dynamicweb. It's a high starting point and Razor-based templates for all the modules. A new version of how we work with translations in templates has been introduced. Before you needed to go into a lot of different files and finding a translation interface far away in the user interface, which was not always easy. Now you can now you have a simple way of working with all the translation in one website and for that language only, and makes it easier both for the developer and also for the editor to work with the translations. Let's have a quick look at how this works. First of all, me as an implementer that develops the templates in Management Center, I have a new node called Translations. And what I do here, what I have here is I have a translation folder for each design I have on my solution. So these are basically design folders that is placed in the templates folder. So templates, design, for each of these folders I have a translation file. And the new thing is I only have one translation file. So taking a look at this one, I have this XML file right here, and it holds all the translations used inside this design. So it's depending, all the translation is lying in the context of a design. And I only have this one. The format of this file is the same as the old translation file, so you can just simply copy if you have any already and move it into this page. So going back to the Management Center, having a look at the translations I have here, it will give me all the keys that I want to have entirely, and I can see all the languages that I've added. And these languages are coming from all the websites that use this design. Which regional settings do they have? And in here I can simply add a new key and add a default translation for each of the regional settings, or I can just edit the XML file directly. This is for me as an implementer. For the editor, I have a website here that uses the DV Simple design. He can right click here and give me all the translations, and he will only see the translations in the context he's in. He is not required to take a look at any of the other things. So he can basically just fill this out, or search for a specific key up here if he knows exactly what he is looking for. So much easier to work with than the old translation system. We've added a new option for hardening password security, so it's now possible to log how many failed login attempts, and we can also block users if they try too many times. This is of course to avoid the solution being hacked. That was all things from 8.5. 8.6, if we take a look at the features in that one, it basically has two major things. It has a new indexing and searching feature, and then it has a new easy-to-use forms module, forms for editors, and then we have a lot of minor improvements as well in this release. But first, let's have a look at the new search module. The search module for Dynamicweb is a replacement for the indexing that we usually use in e-commerce solution. This is for the one we have that searches products and gives us the possibility of filter out products on their properties is being changed for this one. This is a new implementation that handles a lot of the issues that we have with our current implementation. That's especially the flexibility of working with the facet search and its performance, especially on indexing. And it also gives the possibility of searching and indexing any other kind of data, not only e-commerce as the old one does. So this one is very fast. It's very easy to set up compared to the other one. Still requires a bit of Lucene knowledge, and it's really, really fast compared to the one that we had already. And it's more configurable in many ways, and it's of course extendable, so you can do your own filters and so on if the ones that we provide is not enough. I'm not going to go into a big demonstration of how this works, because we also have a community meeting later on this month that you can attend. But the concept of this one is that you can create one or more indexes on the solution, and on top of an index you can create one or more queries or searches, which is similar to the way that we work with smart searches. And these searches can be published onto my website. On top of a search, I can create a facet or a number of facets. So instead of searching just for a free text, I can say I want all the red variants, or I want all the bikes that have 23-inch wheels and so on. So faceted search, as you would know from most e-commerce sites. Just implementing in a new way compared to what we have. It's much more powerful than what you've seen before. On the e-commerce part, loyalty points is a new feature. So now it's possible to set up a lot of rules for how to earn points as a user on my system. So if I buy things, I can earn my points. That's one element of loyalty points feature. Another element is I can buy things in the shop using the points that I have on record on my user. And I basically have on the user a collection of all the points earned and all the points used, and that gives me a balance that can be seen and used on the solution or in the customer center. Then there are some improvements to the discount matrix. You saw them already. Compared to the first release, we've added in a number of new options on the discount matrix, and we've received a lot of requests in the past 6 months for this one. And we are still adding a couple of new features to the discount matrix. Now it's also possible to add, for example, a publication period to a product directly. Before you needed to create a campaign and attach that to a product to do that. Also, we've added a lot of things on the integration part for e-commerce. Most important is this one. Now we have something called a cart provider. That is very useful when you have an integration to a system that calculates the order total. So what you do is, when you implement this, is you let NAV or whatever ERP system you're using handle the calculation of all the prices and order totals and so on, and now you will disable all its calculations. So it will not calculate fees or order lines or totals or VAT or anything. Simply leave it to NAV or AX or whatever, because they know exactly what to do. In email online marketing center, we've added a couple of new things. There's an improved IP tool, so you now get more information, and we also get, if a user is logged in, we can now see who it is. We can see if they bought something, and we can click directly on these icons to see what they had in cart or what they purchased or placed as an order. In email marketing, we now have the possibility of seeing some new things on how many orders did they place and what is the order total, and e-commerce related things that we couldn't see before. It's also now possible to create a text version of an email. Instead of just sending out an HTML, you can send a text alternative along with the HTML emails. And also all the improvements that you saw on smart searches earlier, some of them are we've added a couple of new ones for 8.6, so it's possible to search for some more specific e-commerce history on the user. More extensions to items. It's now possible to use display rules, so this makes it possible to hide parts of the item creation process based on value in some of the fields. So if I have a checkbox and set it, I can show some number of other fields or hide them. Also, as a more important thing, it's now possible to use an other item type as an item field. So this field is called address, and that's basically another item type called address that is expanding to a lot of other fields. And this way, it's possible to reuse different items throughout the systems, and makes it more generic and easy to work with when setting it up. Then we've introduced a new Forms module with Dynamicweb 8.6. It's called Forms for Editors. And Forms for Editors is a module that replaces the really old Forms module, which is still used a lot. And the reason it's still used a lot is because editors can use it. We also have Forms for Data Lists, which can do a lot of things. It has templates and it's extendable and so on. The problem with that one is that editors doesn't have a hard time setting up the forms. So this new Forms for Editors module is trying to handle both those problems. So it needs to be easy for editors to work with as one part, and it also needs to be very flexible in terms of setting it up for the developers of the other one. So this one is template based. It has added a couple of new features to it as well. It's now Bootstrap and HTML5 compatible, so it supports prepends and appends and placeholder attributes, required steps and so on. You also have the possibility of seeing some statistics and download all the data submitted and controlling how many times a form must be submitted, and a lot of new features on the Forms module itself. Also, it's going to be added with an validation engine and a display engine, so you can have rules for which fields to show if when they're filled out and so on. So we're going to see a lot of new things in 8.7 on the Forms module, but this is all already available and you can use it. We made some password enhancements. We've added a new encryption method that is more safe than MD5. MD5 is not considered safe anymore. So this is why we've introduced this new one, so make sure to enable that one. It should be pretty seamless to do it, but you might have some custom code that relies on MD5 encryption. So switch to this one if you haven't done already. So another minor but important features is on order confirmation mails. It's now possible to add attachments, so you can have terms attached as a PDF, for instance. And now it's using the trash bin. It's possible to restore pages and give them back the original ID they had in the tree, so all the links to a page is not broken and so on. This only works on SQL Server-based solutions. And on items, we now have a geolocator field that will give you longitude and latitude and being able to look things up in Google Maps. And you can use that to do map-related item publishing. On the integration part, we've made a change in the NAV integration, so we now support multiple NAV companies and integrate them into the same solution in Dynamicweb. And if you have a company for the Danish market and one for the Swedish market, before it was a bit difficult to integrate both of these two companies or account from NAV into the same Dynamicweb solution. We've changed the integration framework to support this, which is very powerful in these situations. We've made an improvement on marketing integration, so you have the possibility of getting visitor behavior first in lead management and export it into to the Dynamics CRM or any other CRM. What we've done is a generic integration and made a specific implementation on top of the CRM in Microsoft. The integration framework also received a lot of minor adjustments, so you can add parameters when we run an integration service, or you can do partial sync of users databases instead of dumping and importing all of the users all in one time. And the new Assortments module has now been added to the integration framework, so that is supported in the data format that's going back and forward. We've made some changes in some places on how we talk to database, adding more security and more performance on SQL requests, and now you have a possibility of debugging a bit better on what happens. The NLP and clustering feature that we have had in Dynamicweb for many years has been updated and changed quite a bit in this release. Before, we had the limit of being only able to have 2 nodes up and running, and we didn't support e-commerce that well because caching would not, the caching and changes on groups and products would not kick in before the cache expired. Now we fully support e-commerce, real-time updates of caching. So if you do something on one node, it's updated on all the other nodes. And the other important feature, of course, is that we now support any number of web servers in the clustering and not only 2 nodes.